What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer, and we just got a very interesting new leak for Overwatch 2, this time specifically outlining the kit and abilities of the Junker Queen. Now, this leak was posted on the Overwatch 2 subreddit, and apparently is sourced from the French Overwatch streamer and ex-pro coach FefeGG, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right, probably not, I don't speak French, sorry, who in turn apparently got it from a source who he hasn't disclosed. So FefeGG isn't the true source of this leak, he's just the one that sort of brought it into the public, and then this leak post I'm reading through here was then posted from what he said on Reddit. So right from the get-go, it is a bit of a dude trust me type situation, so certainly take all this information with a grain of salt, but the fact that this French Overwatch personality does seem confident in the leak is certainly something to take note of. Also, we have straight up ability icons for each of the Queen's abilities, so let's just go ahead and jump right onto this kit, because it sounds kinda crazy. So first up, we have the Queen's primary fire, which is a shotgun called the Scattergun, and apparently resembles the Scout's primary weapon from Team Fortress 2. For those of you who haven't played TF2, basically this implies that it's going to be a high damage but very short range effective weapon, so presumably fairly similar to Roadhog's Scattergun, or even Ashe's Coach Gun, but of course as her primary weapon. Beyond the Scattergun though, the Queen also has a sword-like melee weapon which has a bleeding effect on it every time it is used, dealing damage over time, and an ability where it acts like a boomerang in that you throw it out and can call it back, booping any enemy that it hits on the way. Now I'm assuming this would be her alternate fire, so if you're playing on PC this would be the right mouse button ability, and gives her essentially just a bit more range damage potential, but it's also interesting that this ability has a bleeding damage over time aspect as well, which of course is something we have a little bit in game with Ashe's Dynamite and Widow's Venom Mine, but now it seems like damage over time could be a bit more commonplace with this if it's simply her alternate fire. The next ability though is Rallying Call, an ability which buffs herself and allies. It gives her an additional 200 HP and her allies an additional 100, and it also gives a 30% speed buff, but it is unclear whether the speed buff is applied only to herself or also to her allies. This seems like a pretty simple and straightforward ability, just a simple speed boost and a bit of extra health. To me, this sounds like it's probably a tanking ability, which I'll be getting onto the Queen's role and what's said about that at the end of this list of abilities, but based off of what we're seeing so far, I'm definitely getting the impression that the Queen, if this kit is true, is going to end up being some sort of off-tank type character. But moving on to the next ability, we have Carnage, which is an ability that deals damage to all enemies in front of her with a bleeding effect. So I assume this is going to be melee range attack, probably like a Reinhardt swing or maybe even just a Brig melee swing in terms of the distance of it. And of course, since she's probably going to be swinging her axe to actually perform this ability, it'll have that bleeding effect as well. The next ability listed is her Adrenaline Shot, which is her passive ability, and it heals all damage that is done through the bleeding effect, but could be extended to fire damage for Dynamite or poison damage for Venom Mine too. This could also be a conversion from bleeding damage into HP, as there seems to be confusion over the translation. Because again, remember, all this originally stemmed from French, being translated into English, so there might be a bit of an inconsistency there in that regard. But what I think is being said here is that all the bleeding damage you deal to an enemy target will be returned to you as HP, which seems a bit excessive and definitely does feel like a tanking ability in that it will give yourself more sustain, but the fact that this might also be extended to fire and poison damage almost makes it sound like if anyone on your team deals a damage over time effect to the enemy, then you're going to gain health from that, which that seems like a weird mechanic if you ask me. I doubt that's what it would end up being, again, if this leak is true. So it's probably the former that I just mentioned. It's specifically the bleed damage you deal as opposed to anyone on your team deals. And last up we have the ultimate ability, Rampage, an ultimate where she charges in front of her, dealing anti-healing to all enemies while also healing herself. This one seems odd, I guess, because if nothing else, this seems just sort of underwhelming. It's like, oh, she just charges, and going by the icon shown here, I'm guessing it's going to be like a tornado spin where she probably is swinging her axe around herself as she charges forward, and then she just anti-heals everyone she hits. I don't know. I mean, maybe if this is like a low-cost ultimate and is one that she can charge up quickly, like Tracer's Pulse Bomb, then maybe this would be an ultimate for her. It does feel a little simple and underwhelming, though. I mean, we don't know how much damage it's necessarily going to deal, and it does have the anti-heal aspect, which is pretty strong. So, I don't know, maybe. This post is then concluded by saying that this hero could be tank or support, with Feifei thinking that she is a tank. Remember to take this with a grain of salt, as it is a leak and things may change before she's introduced to the game. They also included a link to the live stream where Feifei apparently originally discussed this. However, at the time of me recording it, this stream is locked behind a paywall, so unless you're subscribed to him, you can't actually check it out and watch it for yourself. It does sound like from some of the comments I was reading that he's planning to upload it to his YouTube channel as well, which if he does end up doing that, then I'll have a link to that down in the description. But for now, at least, you'd have to subscribe to him on Twitch in order to actually gain access to his live discussion of this kit. So, admittedly, that's a little suspicious. I'm not trying to call out Feifei here for, you know, doing anything nefarious, but making people pay to hear the full discussion, I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, though, and just say that maybe he had it set up preemptively that way. I don't really know. Anyways, taking this entire kit into account, I am inclined to say that this would most likely be a tank hero if this kit does end up being real, because for one thing, none of these abilities heal her teammates. There's the Rallying Call ability, which gives 100 temporary HP to nearby allies, but that would be the weakest form of healing out of every support hero in the game if the Queen ended up being a support. So I'm pretty sure she's going to end up being a tank, judging by this kit. And as for the kit and abilities themselves, it's kind of hard to tell. My initial reaction is that this kit feels kind of like a mishmash of different things that I'm not entirely convinced would fit together well as a hero's kit. Certainly it sounds like she has a very brawly playstyle where she can quickly jump into the mix with her speed boost while gaining temporary HP and then deal a ton of melee damage, but I don't know, certain aspects of this kit just feel off to me. I think the boomerang aspect of her thrown melee weapon feels a bit thematically off base for the Junker Queen. I understand they would likely introduce this boomerang mechanic so that you could throw it out and then have the melee weapon come back so you don't just lose it forever. But wouldn't it make more sense for her to just pull out a new axe? I mean, the Junkers are pretty low tech. Why would they have like a return to hand style melee weapon? That just doesn't feel thematically on base for the Junkers. It would make more sense, I think, if she just pulled out another axe, like Reaper just pulls out more shotguns. Other than that, though, I guess more or less this could realistically end up being the kit of a hero in-game, but I don't really know. Again, this is just a leak. It hasn't been verified by any means whatsoever, beyond the fact that we basically know for a fact that the Queen is going to end up being a new hero. But as for this kit and abilities themselves, certainly take them with a grain of salt. Again, this leak is not verified. It essentially boils down to a dude trust me type situation, which we know often end up being complete nothing burgers, but it is a very interesting one to take into account, especially since they do have what are supposedly the actual icons of the hero's kit. Admittedly, these could easily be faked. Any decent graphic designer could have easily drawn up most of these abilities. The weapon icon, I think, is the most outstanding in that it, well, looks more detailed than the rest. But nonetheless, it's just a lot of interesting stuff to chew on. Definitely let me know your thoughts on this leak in the comments down below. Do you think there's any validity to it? Do you think this could actually be what the Junker Queen's kit ends up being? And if so, do you think this is an interesting kit? Are these abilities things you would like the Queen to be able to do in-game? Because for me, it sounds like there might actually be some potential for a hero having something like this. Either way though, I'd love to hear from you, and thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, hit up that bell icon, and come join my Discord server to hang out and never miss any of my future Overwatch content. Special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible, and if you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.